What's up, everybody? This is BS for Build. I'm Chris. Today we are here talking about buying salvaged cars. I'm sorry, I wish I was in the shop today. I am really sick, and so I apologize. I'm going to be a little bit sniffly. So we're going to do some computer stuff for now. And I wanted to tell you guys, explain to you guys some tips and tricks that I have on buying salvage cars, how I do it, how the process goes, so you guys can do it on your own and hopefully save yourself some money when you do decide to buy yourself a project car. Stay tuned. All right, so before we get started, I do have a little bit of a disclaimer. This is just my opinion on the buying process and how I do it. I am not liable if you follow my advice and screw yourself. This is just how I do things and my advice on doing things, but it's just should be taken as advice only, and I could definitely be wrong on a lot of these things because I'm wrong all the time. So let's jump into where I buy my cars at, where I buy my salvage cars at. So I use one site which is called Copart. And I know that there's another site. It's IAAI. I don't know what the hell that stands for. Anyways, they're very similar to Copart. If maybe you don't have a Copart yard in your area, then maybe try out IAAI. I personally have used Copart. This is not a sponsored video. I also want to mention I personally have used Copart. I've been so happy with using Copart. I like their staff a lot. I've always just had really good experiences with them, so I've never even felt like that I wanted to go look around at other places. So this has been I've bought about 15 cars over the last year from Copart, and I've been happy with the experience of dealing with Copart every single time. I haven't always been happy with the cars, but that's not their fault. So I wanted to talk about the biggest question that I hear a lot is licenses and in the states. So you need a license. Can I buy a salvage car? How do you get cars at auction? You're so lucky. So any of these green states, you can just jump onto Copart, create an account. To create an account, you need to upload your driver's license. But like I'm saying, I trust Copart. They're a legitimate company. I had no problem uploading a copy of my license to them. You can also go to their physical location. They have a lot of them spread across the United States. And you can hand them your ID and they'll scan it for you if you don't want to email a copy of it. And you add some deposit money, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Any of these green states, you can do that, and then as soon as their auction comes up, you can buy a car and take that car home, and you are done. If you are in the yellow states, as it says here, there's a mix of licensing requirements, and there may be differences. So you might be able to only buy cars to part out, and you might not be able to buy clean title cars. I'm not really sure what that is. And then in the gray states, you need to purchase through a broker. So for instance, we are in Oregon. I bought a car in Nevada. I bought the Plan B BRZ in Nevada, and I needed to use a broker. The broker that I recommend is called Auto Bid Master. They are a good company. I had no problem getting my deposit back. I really enjoyed their service and the people that they have working there and working the phones. It was easy to contact them, easy to work with them, and they actually have the ability to give you a Copart ID. So it's just like when I log in here into Copart, you have all of those abilities, and you can join the Copart live bidding right like that. So it's really cool. They're a broker, but they're very integrated with Copart, and they make the process really easy to buy a car on Copart. So that's the broker that I recommend. I have used them before. I had no problem at all using them before. So let's talk about deposit. So if I go back to my dashboard here at Copart, you're going to see my buying power. It's at $1,000 right now. I think you can go up to $20,000 without being a Premier member. I've never been a Premier member. There are some perks to being a Premier member. I don't remember what those are. So $1,000 buying power means that you have deposited $100. So it's 1/10 of whatever you've deposited. You get 10 times that as your buying power, and that means that you're allowed to bid on cars or multiple cars up to that amount. So let me explain that. If you put $1,000 on Copart, you're going to get $10,000 worth of buying power. You can bid, for instance, on one car, and so they have an auction day. Each yard has an auction day. The one that I bid at frequently is the North Portland one because I'm in Portland, Oregon. So Wednesday is their auction day. And it's an online auction. You're watching it happen online, and you're clicking bid online, and you'll bid up, and say you get one car for $5,000. Well, then that $5,000 is reserved. You have your other $5,000 there to bid on the next car if you want, or you can bid all the way up to $10,000 on one car. So if you're buying a car and you think it's worth $15,000, grab $1,600, put it on Copart. You can use a card, and then you'll have $16,000 worth of bidding power. That way you can bid up to your full amount. I've lost a car before because I just didn't have enough I didn't have enough deposited, and I wasn't really paying attention, and I lost the auction by $50 because I just didn't have it in my account, which is ridiculous. So I only have $1,000 in here because I just requested a bunch of my deposit back after I bought the Lotus Evora. So I think that was about a $16,000 buying power, and that just goes to show that getting your deposit back is really easy. It's like a couple clicks of a button. You tell them how much of your deposit you want back, and they just send it right back into my bank account. I have that money back. That's why I really trust these guys a lot. They're a straight up company, and I've had a good time using them. So that's how you manage your deposit. Um, I would caution. I don't want to get too far into this, but be careful starting looking at these cars because it's addicting. Like I said, I bought 15 cars in the last 12 months. I own 7 or 8 cars right now. I probably shouldn't have that many cars. I have too many projects, but it's because you find these deals and you just don't want to pass them up, and you think like, okay, like I want to get that now, and I don't want to wait and whatever. So be patient with these auctions. Get the right car for you. Because remember that a project car fixing it up can easily take 6 months out of your life. So it's better to take 3 or 4 weeks to buy the car than to buy the wrong car, take 6 months to get rid of it, and then get the next car. So auctions happen weekly. This one happens Wednesday at noon. Each different location has a different auction time. You can find locations. Here's a quick drop down of where they are across the United States. They are all across the United States. And you can buy at any of these as long as you have the right license type. Like for instance, you want to buy those from green state to green state. So I can buy a car in Arizona and they will arrange shipping for you if you want, and they'll ship it back to you, or you can go down to Arizona and pick the car up. You guys that are viewers of the channel already probably saw the B is for Build Plan B BRZ where we bought it in Nevada and fixed the car up in their parking lot. They're not going to let anybody do that. I think the only reason that we got away with that is because they didn't notice that we were doing that. So don't plan on buying a car and going and fixing it up in their parking lot. If anything, plan on buying it and like tow trucking it somewhere where nobody's paying attention and then doing it. But they have reasonable towing and delivery fees too if you're close enough. So let's start talking about so auctions are weekly. I can't show you what an auction looks like right now. I think I had a window open right here. This is kind of what an auction looks like. It'll say like, here's the bid, the current bid. You can type in a higher number and hit bid. It'll tell you how many participants there are in the whole auction, and then it's got this little thing that rolls around. And if you have the high bid and it rolls all the way around and finishes, then you win. If not, somebody will bid and it'll start the clock over. So it's a lot of clicking this button over here, and it's pretty fun. I would always advise, I'm jumping ahead of myself here, but I'd always advise when you're in an auction, if you want to get a car for cheap, you're trying to get a cheap start, don't get in a bidding war with somebody. If you go bing and hit bid, and then it goes bing and they bid back and bing, bing, don't play ping pong with your money. Just wait till there's no one there and it's just like bing, I hit the reserve or whatever, and no one's paying attention, and you sneak under the radar and get that car. That is how I've always got the cheapest cars, and that's just totally the best way. And I have totally got my Mustang. I got in a stupid bidding war and I spent too much money, and I have thus lost a lot of money. So that brings up sales statuses. Let me just like look for some cars here. So the way I do this is I have my location that's near me on my dashboard. You can add it in your dashboard and you can quickly view the inventory. So this is all the inventory for the North Portland, Oregon yard. And let's just say, for instance, that I'm interested in BMWs. So I'm just going to, because right now I kind of am, but probably just BMWs. Let's add in Mercedes too. So this is just going to show me all the BMW and Mercedes at the Portland yard. And you'll see that there's a lot of information here. You got the year and the model, and you have these little things that are kind of the vehicle status, and I'll get into that. But let's talk about sales status. So there are, I believe, 3 sales statuses. There's on approval, which is on approval means that you can bid as much as you want, and then as the auction will end, you'll win, or somebody will win. The owner of that vehicle will then get to approve or disapprove of the total. So the first time I was ever bidding on Copart, there was a 370Z, and we got it up to $7,000, but it was an on approval auction, and the owner just said, no, I don't want to give it up for $7,000. How about you give me $11,000? And I said no, and then that's basically the thing's over, and then the owner has to manage that from there. They might put it up the next week, or they might not. Pure Sale is the one that I love bidding on. I love Pure Sale cars. Sometimes you can even, every week I pretty much browse the whole yard. So there's probably over 1,000 vehicles that'll go up for sale every week. Maybe not 1,000, maybe a couple hundred. I look through every single one of them, and I hit watch on any of the ones that I'm even relatively interested in. If you see that there's a lot of Pure Sale cars up, it's probably going to be a good week, and a lot of cars are probably going to start going for cheap. Or sometimes if you see that there's a lot of cars in the same genre, the same type of market, sometimes that can lower the price of the market. So for instance, if you're looking for a Subaru and there's just a ton of Subarus that week, Subarus are probably going to sell for a little bit cheaper. So that is something that's really interesting. It's kind of like the stock market. If you are like eagle-eyed on the yard at all times, you can watch and see notices changes in the weather. In Oregon, when the rain starts coming in, everything starts getting crappy. Those next few weeks, what happens is people buying project cars or shop owners or whatever, they're dealing with all their cars getting rained on and stuff, and the prices go down on these vehicles. It sounds crazy, but you can really watch it. Anything. So a pure sale, anyway, sorry I got off track there, means that when you hit the last bid price and it says you win, you go ding, 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 and whoever wins, wins. That's it. So it'll start at $100 or wherever it'll start. People can bid before the auction starts anyways, and then you click, and if you hit bid and you have the winning bid, it rolls around, you won the car, and then you got to deal with fees, and I'll talk about fees in a little bit. Minimum bid or on reserve means that the seller's placed a reserve price on the lot, and then if it's surpassed, it'll normally tell you that it surpassed the minimum bid. It'll say on reserve, surpass the reserve over here. Normally it will tell you that, and then you know that if you win that auction that you're going to win it. If it hasn't hit it and it still says it's on reserve or you haven't passed the reserve price, that means that, again, just like an on approval auction, the owner of the car is going to either approve or disapprove of the final price. And they may give it to you, though, so be careful. You don't want to, just because the car is on approval or minimum bid, you didn't hit that minimum bid, don't go buy another car because you might end up with two. All right, so let's talk about these vehicle types. So you have enhanced vehicles, which essentially means that Copart has been authorized to try and get the most money out of this vehicle as possible. It's an interesting thing. So they might clean the car, they might clean the engine bay. I was looking at this car earlier today, and for instance, I noticed that the car's pretty dirty, and then you look under the hood and looks like they sprayed some degreaser around there and cleaned up the engine bay a little bit. So it might mean that. It might mean that they put the little E on here because it doesn't run and it doesn't drive, or it doesn't, it's not a runs and drives car. It's not a starts car, which is just an S. So that's a car that just starts, doesn't run or drive. It's not a runs or drive car. So oftentimes they'll just put a little E on here. So there's the E, which is an enhanced vehicle by Copart. It can mean a lot of things. And if you're interested in knowing what it means, you can ask Copart about that individual vehicle and they might tell you a little bit more. R means it runs and drives. That means that they can put the car in drive or in first gear and it'll move forward under its own weight. They can put it in neutral and it'll work in neutral and rev in neutral, and then they can put it in reverse and they can go in reverse. It doesn't mean that they actually drove around in the car. It just means it went like probably a matter of inches back and forth. So it doesn't mean that it's like straight ready to go on the highway. It just means that it was able to go a little bit. D means that a car was donated, which is an interesting, it's always an interesting scenario when a car is donated. So here you have a 2005 BMW X5 and it had 214,000 miles. I'll bet you some rich dude figured out that that was going to be a better tax break for him than it was for selling, which I totally disagree. So now somebody else can jump in and try and buy this car. Or maybe it's damaged and like fucking timing belt's blown up or something like that. You don't know. This is hard because it's a donated vehicle, but it's not it's an enhanced vehicle, so it doesn't say it runs and drives. This would be a car like if you're really interested in it and trying to get a cheap car for cheap because it's low miles, maybe go to Copart and see if you can start the car, if they'll let you try and start the car or whatever. Grab the keys and do that. So sorry, I'm going to try not to get too sidetracked on these videos. I don't want it to get too long. So there's D, which is donated, E, which is an enhanced vehicle. You have R, which means it runs and drives, and then you have S, which just means it starts. And normally you can see the reason why it just starts in a picture. If you look around, snapped axle or tie rod or whatever, suspension damage is normally the reason that they do that. So that they don't want to drive the vehicle at all in this situation. So look at this yard though. Look at this. This is why sometimes right when winter starts rolling around, prices of cars start to go down. Guys don't want to be throwing on their mud boots and running around the yard looking at cars and jumping under cars and whatever. And sometimes cars are cheaper. So it's a pain in the ass to work on them in the winter, but it might be a buy it in the winter and store it for a while type of thing. Anyways, okay, so we did that. We went over the sale statuses. Pay attention to titles. So you got a salvage title certificate. You can get a certificate of ownership rebuilt. That's a rebuilt title. You can have a bill of sale, which is normally a pretty big pain in the ass to turn a bill of sale into a title. It can be hard. That means they probably lost the title. And then you have a certificate of ownership. Certificate of ownership is basically a title. If you have any questions on that, ask the ask the Copart guys about your lot number. So this is your lot number, and if you start talking to a car about them, they're going to go, "What's your lot number?" That's that number right there. Bring that to them. And so, for instance, this is a clear title car. So you have a Washington Vehicle Certificate of Ownership title. That's going to be a clear title car. All right. I don't know if I already talked about visiting days, but here's the way that I look at cars, and we'll try and jump into that as we do it. So I try to come to Copart with a specific car in mind that I'm looking to buy, and I normally try and do this several weeks ahead of time, and I'll watch that type of car for a week or 2 weeks as they go by at auction and the prices that they're normally going for, so I know what a good price is. And the way I always try and do this also is, you look at the damage that there is on the car, find out how much the parts are going to be to fix it. Make sure that you can't just go buy one cheaper at Craigslist. It's a mistake I've made before. It was a semi-calculated mistake. Like, I did the math, and I just did the math a little bit wrong, and in the end I should have just bought the car on Craigslist if I wanted the car, and it would have saved me the time. So when I'm looking at cars, I'll do my little filter, and like, let's say that I was looking for a bit of a European maybe car to be a project car. Let's just say that's a scenario. It's not an uncommon scenario. I want something that's rear wheel drive and it's going to be some fun. So we got this BMW here. It's a XI, which means it's the all wheel drive. So I don't want that. Then we got this BMW here, which I've actually already looked at, and I kind of have been digging it. So I looked through the pictures, and what I do is I also profile the person. So somebody swapped the rims on here. Well, I hate to say it, but a lot of times people that swap rims tend to not take as much care of their cars and tend to beat up their cars a little bit more than people that don't. The best car that I've ever bought, I ever found, the person had I am like an OPB donator sticker on their back window. It was a mom and pop car. So there's a couple of things that I judge. I judge mods done on a car, whether they're done well or cheaply. Now, if these were, I'm not judging the rims on this car. I don't care how they look. Everybody has their own preferences. But if these were $1,000 per rim set of rims, then that would change my mind. I would think, okay, this is probably a person that's invested money into this car and they take care of it. If they're cheapo rims, I might do it the same way. You can also look at the tread wear on the tires. When you get to the yard, look at the way that the tread's worn out, and like, okay, they didn't replace their tires when they should have, or the tread is wearing poorly and they have an alignment problem and they've just left it that way. So those can be indicators of how well the car has been treated, especially when you're not going to be able to drive it very far. So you want to kind of know, you're trying to gather as much information you can out of the car as possible. So I look through all of these pictures like with razor focus. So you can see right here on the seatbelt, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see my mouse actually, but on the seatbelt there's some mold. It looks like there's mold down here. Then you look back and see, okay, well, the damage is a busted out window, so it's been busted out and rained into to the point where it's molded. So be ready for that. And what I do is I will write down the lot numbers of all the cars, and I'll write down all the parts that the parts of the car I want to go in and pay attention to. And what do I need to learn about this car? What do I want to figure out? And what, when I looked at pictures, worried me about the car. And then when you get to see the car in real life, then you know what to look for, because it can kind of be a little overwhelming. If you have 10 cars on your list and you're going to go check them all out in one day, you're never going to remember what to look for in all the cars. So write the stuff down. Be prepared when you come in. So again, document your lot number. That's how you find it later. If you want to look at it to be able to bid, you just hit watch right here. That'll put it on your dashboard. So when you go back to your dashboard, it'll be on your watch list, and that's a good way to track all the cars. So every week I'll just watch a bunch of different cars, and I'll watch them go through the auction. I'll watch other people buy them with no inkling for myself to buy that car. And then when I'm ready and I feel educated on the market, then I'll jump in and start watching cars and buying them. So let's say this was a week, though, that I was ready to buy a car. I'm going to watch that car. I'm going to write down the lot number. I'm going to head down to the yard, and they all have visiting days. This yard, the auctions are on Wednesday, so I believe visiting day is Tuesday and maybe Monday. I'm not really sure all the visiting days, but again, the people at Copart are really nice. Give them a call. They'll answer all those types of questions. And don't forget a jumper pack. I have a jumper pack. I have one of these. It's a 1x1 jumper pack. This company was nice enough to actually send me one to test out. I love it. It's a lithium ion jumper pack, so it's pretty small. You can also charge your phone if you forget to charge your phone or something. But anyways, these are pretty sweet, and pick one of these up and bring it with you to the yard. It doesn't have to be that brand, but bring a jumper pack, because a lot of these cars, the batteries are going to be dead. They're going to be flat dead. So bring the pack. You can put it on the battery, and you can read things like mileage on the car and other things like that if the battery's dead. And the that's one cool thing that people online don't get the ability to come check out this car. So oftentimes you'll be bidding with somebody in a different country and you're going to be going against them in the bids. You they don't get to be there and see the car, so they're going to have to kind of bow out a little bit earlier than you are if you're trying to get that like last little degree of value. So if you're the guy that got to come down there, plug in your battery pack and turn the car on and hear it run, and you're the only one that knows it just runs and purrs, like, then you know that you're going to be getting a better deal than they know, because to them that's still a question mark. Let's talk about damage types. So you have rear end, and like for instance, we looked at this car and it looked like the rear end's fine. They're considering this rear end damage, this rear quarter panel with the busted out window. So at that point, when if they don't have secondary damage, which you can click on here and see that there's a primary damage and a secondary damage. Primary damage right here. Secondary damage is just all over, so that's probably the mold that they're talking about and just general not caring about the vehicle. So this would be like a good if you're looking for a drift missile or something. Unfortunately, it's an automatic, but this is a good type of car to go check out at the yard and see if it's one that you want to own. So then scrolling down through, for instance, you can see minor dents and scratches. That's just, they have to list some sort of damage. They can't see that the car's not damaged because none of these are perfect. You got side damage, which obviously just means, you know, it's kind of a side. Front end damage, which is something, it could be something as bad as this. And this car's got front and like side and rear. And I mean, this car's just jacked. So it can mean a lot, and I don't read into it too much, except for when you get something like this, like water flood. I just go the other way. I mean, yeah, this is a really nice car, but all the electrics could be totally shot, and you may never get that car working ever again because of the water flood damage. The types of cars where I find the best value are vandalism damage. When you go look at the car and you listen to it run, it's a runs and drives car with vandalism damage. That could mean that someone stole the car, drove it around the block, got out of the car, never broke it, never did anything. The owner got the car written off. I've had really good luck with those. And then the other ones that I've had are minor front end damage. So I'm trying to find one. This BMW, for instance, this is what I would consider kind of minor front end damage. You have the two lights look okay. The hood's damaged. You're going to need to replace it. You're going to need a new bumper. It looks like the fenders are even okay. So this is the type of car where I would watch it. I guess I already have. It's a runs and drives car. It's got 100,000 miles, so it's not too little. It's okay. It's a good year. There's going to be a lot of parts for it. And I would head down to the yard and check out this car and see how much damage is done to these internals, and I can almost guarantee you that the impact bar is going to be bent in a little bit, probably didn't even break the AC compressor. Behind that you got the radiator. I would say if the radiator is okay, then you know, alright, this is a cool car to bid on. And to be honest, I think I'd be bidding on this car, but I think it's an automatic. Yeah, it's an automatic. But say you needed a daily driver, this is a good car, and this is the type of car that I've been able to find a lot of value in buying. Let's see. Now remember when you buy that there are fees that aren't really included in the price. So when you go to auction, for instance, this is a brand new BMW. Well, it's not brand new. It's 2011. Why does everybody want this car? Huh. I guess it's just a 7 Series. So anyways, it's what is it bid up to right now? $5,000. If you were to win this, I don't know exactly how much the fees are, but I always estimate them at about 10%. Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. Jesus, being sick sucks. I always look at them at about 10%. So if you won the car at $5,000, just remember you're probably gonna pay about $5,500 roughly. You know, that's just a rough number. If you want to know the exact fees, ask Copart, or you might be able to Google it. But just remember that just because you win the bid, that's not over. Then you got to still get the car shipped to you somehow too. So you're either going to get it towed to your house from the location here, or you're going to have to send your own tow truck and get it picked up. So that can be, it's always a little bit more than this price. So if you're looking for a specific car, you can search cars in a proximity. So a lot of you guys are probably going to say, like, I am very picky on the car that I want. I already have this typed up, Subaru BRZ. We're all BRZ guys here, pretty much, a lot of it. So let's say you're willing to look within 1,000 miles. So throw your zip code in here, 1,000 miles away. There's only 2 of them. I guess Beers for Build did too well. Everybody wants them all. You can jump through these and look at these, and that's how I do like a proximity search. And you know, okay, this is in California. So again, you're going to have to use a broker. I would use Auto Bidmaster. check out the car. When they do these little lines, they're pointing to damage that they're not going to be able to see on the camera. You guys would be very surprised with a clear picture how much you can hide damage wise. So this is a car that I'd really want to look at the lot, or if you're really interested in it, you want to know exactly how much damage is on it. I mean, normally those mean scratches or light dents, but you can actually, there are people that you can hire and they have a base price and they'll go out to the lot for you. Like, so I'm not in California, I'm not going to fly to California to look at a car. So they will go out there, take pictures for you, do research for you, and help you learn more about the car before you bid on it. That's more commonly done with exotic cars like a Ferrari or something. They'll go check it out for you, but yeah, it can be done. So what they're doing here though is they're trying to point out blemishes or marks in the car. So this is, for instance, a car that damages for the undercarriage. That can be very hard to look at. So you can see the rear diffuser's busted up here. That can be really hard to check out, undercarriage damage, because they're not going to let you jack up the car in the yard, or at least I don't think they will. They might. So that can be hard, but this is a cool one because 30,000 miles, low miles, and it's a pure cell car, and it runs and drives. Now, it's already at 400, which means people are paying attention to it, and it's a month ahead of time. But anyways, those are the types of cars that you might want to put an eye on and just watch and see as they go. Here's another BRZ, and again, just look at the pictures, write down the things that you want to know about the car, do research on car parts, like the availability of finding new parts. Here's another big tip. You can call Copart and ask them, does this car come with any other parts like that I'm not seeing? So in this picture, you see a car, but if you look through the windshield, that's actually a front bumper that's sitting in the passenger seat. And as you guys saw in the Reno video when we were buying the Plan B, almost every single part for the car came with the car. But here, I'll pull up a picture of what it looked like when I was buying the car at auction. This was the car when I was bidding on it at auction. So it looked like you look in the interior, there's no parts in here. You're not seeing anything. Nothing through the windshield. It looked like it had no headlights. It looked like it had no bumper. It looked like it had no fender. It definitely didn't have a door. It looked like it had no trunk lid. But what I noticed in the back, the trunk was that's a headlight in the back trunk. And I was thinking, like they have some parts back there. So I called Copart in Reno. I begged them, will you guys tell me what's in the car, what's included? And the car was sitting out in the snow, and they didn't really give two shits. So they just said, like, we saw some stuff in the car. We weren't really sure what it was. So they could have been nicer on that. But this was a car where I actually showed up, and pretty much it's easy to actually not notice a lot of things. Like in this picture, it looks like there's two seats in the car. I don't think there's even a driver's seat in this car. And there definitely wasn't when I bought it. So keep in mind, like, look for mods. Obviously this front sway bar, or strut bar, or whatever you want to call it, was here, and that, kind of meant that there was more mods underneath. It doesn't always mean that. You don't want to buy cars probably with really cheap mods, because again, I don't trust people that do really cheap mods to their cars, and I don't really want to buy that car. So anyways, you can call them and ask them for the lot number. What does this car come with? So when we're looking at this car, what does this car come with? And what other parts does it need? And that helps you get a better price, because a lot of the parts that I got for the Plan B that came with the car, they're very reusable. And so it had taillights, it had headlights, it had a bumper. Those things all work, and that is about when you talk about two taillights and a bumper, it's at least $1,500 worth of parts. Two taillights, two headlights, and a bumper, at least $1,500 worth of parts that no one saw on the auction block. So I got that car for cheaper, and they didn't really know about it. I think that's about it. This video is getting a little bit longer than I wanted. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. If there are any questions that you guys have, leave them in the comments. I'll do my best to respond to them. I'm sorry I'm sick. I'm trying to get back in the shop as fast as I can, but I don't really want to do paint prep when I can barely breathe already. Putting on a respirator is just going to make it even harder. But I am excited to get back into the shop. Like I said, any questions, leave them in the comments. Any really technical questions, call Copart, give them a call. And even if you're just a car fan, I would advise checking out Copart, seeing if there's a yard near you, and seeing if you want to just go look around, man. It's a really fun deal. There's no risk of making a membership here and being able to go walk the yard. It doesn't cost you any money, so it's pretty cool. It's something you can really check out and have a fun time doing. Thank you guys very much. If you'd like to support the channel and support me buying any more of this nonsense, check out bsforbuild.com. Scroll to the bottom to the shop. This is stuff that I make all myself, or I source it, and I package it and I ship it, and all the money goes back towards our project cars. like these. So anything you guys can do to support the channel is a big help, and I want to thank everybody that has supported the channel previously. It means a lot, and it's really helping us get through some of these projects. And that's about it. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was B is for Build, buying salvage cars. You can find us at bsforbuild.com/Facebook. No, wait, you can't do that. Facebook.com/B is for Build. We are B is for Build on Instagram, and you can find us at bsforbuild.com. Thank you guys very much. Peace.